There we go. Okay, I'd like to call to order the regular board meeting of the DeSoto Area School District, Monday, February 15th, 2021 at 7 p.m. in the Middle High School Commons. We have roll call, please, Gary.
Jess Gordon.
Yes.
Gary, yes. Chris Holiday. Brett Hutchinson.
Here.
Jeff Long.
Here.
Rick Brigetti.
Yes.
Dennis Kinder.
Yes.
Ryan Nutter.
Yes.
And Kevin Molliser.
Yeah. Who's giving public notice, please? Ms. Brennan.
The meeting was publicized by posting on the school doors, banks, and post offices in DeSoto, Ferryville, Genoa, and Stoddard, Pronto and DeSoto, Ferryville Cheese Store in Ferryville, and Red Mount Store on February 12, 2021, and printed in the broadcaster on the same date and broadcast over WBRQ radio.
Thank you. Are there any additions or corrections to the agenda?
There are none.
With that, I'd ask for a motion to approve the agenda as presented. I so move. A motion by Kevin, seconded by Jess. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Were there any public comment submissions?
Jackie Cruiser reported we did not receive any in person, by hand delivery, or email by 3:30 today. So no.
Okay. All right, well, with that, then we will move on to committee and other reports. First item is the 2021 Education Convention report.
The convention was virtual this year, which was, to me, kind of a pain, but at the same time, I guess you could look at the benefits. We didn't have to make selections of what we wanted to go to. So with that being said, plus I could take 4 days to do what we did in 2 up there. So the resolutions, they all went through. 2 of them were modified. One of them that I had talked to Rick about was about the mascot. And there was probably a half hour to 45 minutes discussion on that one, and a couple of different amendments that failed. And basically it states that mascots are still something that the district can decide on. So it isn't something that's going to be mandated one way and then they're going to say what it is. So not that pirate was threatened, but it could have been. Seneca Indians are a good example of something that if that would have went through, they could have sat there and used the state to say, okay, we've got to change that name. So other than that, I think probably the most positive thing that I've taken out of it is I had a whole lot more respect for everything that everybody here does. And what I mean by that is a lot of the seminars that I went to, or clicked onto, there wasn't anybody I've seen that was as prepared as we were for the pandemic. And when I say that, I mean there is some that still haven't went back to school yet, and they aren't even close. They're already talking, they're not going back till next fall. So then when you sit there and you look at all the presentations, you can see how everything fit together here. What I mean by that is we were prepared with the bus company. We were prepared so many different things. And as I said, you know, we met on that Monday night and said, okay, we're closing down. The next day we're not going to have school. And we were virtual very, very quickly. There was many districts. They didn't go virtual for, you know, the rest of the year, or if they did, they went virtual like in 5-6 weeks. So to that, I just say, you know, I guess sometimes when you see something like that presented by many different school districts, it shows you how blessed we are to have what we have here. About it.
No, that's really neat. I think you're exactly right. We are blessed to have what we have here. So thanks for that report. First item of business is to approve the receipts and expenditures.
You inquired on the lanterns and the batteries, and those are for emergency use if we have a power outage. We have several classrooms that do not have windows, and so if we do have a power outage, they're pretty dark. And why teachers also have flashlights, we also have some lanterns that have been purchased that can be used for those classrooms and by maintenance personnel or administration as we're going through the building to make sure everyone is safe and still able to manage.
Does anybody else have any questions on the expenditures? Motion by Kevin to approve the receipts and expenditures, seconded by Ryan. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Approval of the minutes dated 1/18/21 is the next item on the agenda. Thought they look good. I'll make that motion. Motion by Jess to approve the minutes, seconded by Kevin. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Our next item on the agenda is resignations, hiring, transfers, and approval of volunteers.
We have one recommendation. The middle school boys basketball season is underway, and we were able to hire a second coach. And Brandon Erke has placed in Renee Venner for that position. We're fortunate that she was able to start as the season started and are bringing this to the board for retroaction action.
Any questions on that? We get a motion by Kevin Wallacer, seconded by Brent. All those in favor? Opposed? The motion carries. Thank you. But there's still no donations to accept?
No donations this year.
This month. All right, and then any Fund 80 requests?
No Fund 80 requests this month.
So we'll move on to 7.6, which is campaign finance exemption approval.
That is a document that should have already previously been completed by the board members who are up for re-election, but every board member is required to complete this campaign finance registration statement with your bank's number on there. Board members are asked to complete items A1 through A9. A29 is yes, this registrant is eligible for exemption, and then G4 through G6, and Jackie can complete other information in there. So A1 through A9, A29, and G4 through G6.
We'll turn these in when the meeting is over.
That would be perfect.
Okay. So then our next item is 7.7, the winter sports update.
Mr. Erke is not able to join us tonight, but he provided me with some information to share. Girls basketball lost in the WIA regional game 1 on Friday night actually semifinal game 2 by a score of 48-30. We can compliment them on their season and thank them for really working through what was a challenging season. Several of the members of the varsity team twice went through a quarantine period because of exposure to an athlete from another team that we had played. We had a reduced season schedule. We had some weather issues in there, and they just hung in there, gave their all, and we're so proud of their tenacity and perseverance. And we thank the coaching staff for all of their adjustments as well. I would also like to commend our coaches and especially Ashley Witesky, who volunteered this season. Ashley is a special education teacher here at our middle school, high school. She also is the head volleyball coach, and she volunteered with the girls basketball program. A couple weeks prior, we had a medical emergency with one of the girls basketball players. Ashley did go to the hospital then and stayed with the athlete till 11:30 that night until the parent could get there. And this is just evidence of how our staff and our coaches go above and beyond to show that they care and will safeguard people's children in the school setting and in the extracurricular setting. So it's not unique, as the board knows from a letter I submitted last month about one of our teachers who's also a coach. And there is a letter that I handed out tonight about one of our secretaries, the work they do. But I wanted to take a moment to commend Ashley and the girls basketball coaches, as well as the program and parents. They just made it an exceptional season. Boys basketball will host Potosi tomorrow night here for regional game 1. It's a 7 p.m. game. I thank Mr. Grenning for broadcasting all those games and truly leading with quality broadcasts. Many other districts who were scrambling to learn how to do it, and we've been doing it for years. So thank you very much for doing that. That will also be broadcast live off of our website. Wrestling, as you know, we had 2 of our wrestlers go to state. Aiden Brzezinski placed 3rd and Cesar Garcia placed 4th. The state tournament this year was held at Wausau East High School this past weekend. Aiden defeated Max Sokowski of Londo, pardon me?
Sokolowski, but go ahead, I'm sorry.
Sokowski Bandu by a fall at 113 and lost to Cole Marco, the state champion of St. Croix Falls, 3-1, and beat Colton Cutts of Iowa Grand Highland by Tech Falls 16-1. Then he went on to beat Max Sokolski for the 2nd time in the 3rd place match by a score of 9-1. Cesar fell by a pin to Joel, state champion from Boyceville, beat Dylan Larson from oh boy, I'm going to say that one wrong and get in trouble. Shackton by fall at the 142 mark, beat Brock Upson from Randon Lake by fall at 322 mark, and lost in the 3rd place match by an ultimate tiebreaker 3-2. So I know Brandon was able to, I think, be in person to watch those 2 compete.
I watched them all on the internet. What he didn't say in there is the kid that beat Aiden and the kid that beat Cesar, both those boys were already 2-time state champions. And unfortunately, they both drew those kids in Cesar had his kid the first match. And once and Aiden has his in the second match. And when you lose a match, they don't let you wrestle back to second. 3rd is the best you can get from that point on. But Aiden had a heck of a match against his kid. Going on Aiden's run to the state tournament, he either pinned or major decision every single kid except for one, and that kid was 8-1 in that match. And we wrestled this kid that was already 2-time state champion. It was a 3-1. They both had escapes when they were on the bottom, and that kid managed to get Aiden taken down once at the end of the period. So he wrestled really tough against a 3-time state champion. And Cesar wrestled very well too. Cesar, had he been on the other side of the bracket, may very well have been one of those kids that got to get to 2nd place. But sometimes it's the luck of the draw, so sometimes you make your own luck too. But at any rate, it was a pretty nice state tournament for those boys, and their coaches deserve a lot of credit because they too had a tough year without as many matches as they normally would have, and they didn't have the tournaments that they normally would have had. So kudos to all these coaches in the winter sports.
We also had a virtual send-off assembly for the boys that Mr. Erke coordinated. And so Ted Johnson, the head coach, brought in the middle school wrestlers as well and had his team there and recognized everyone along with the state competitors.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Erke.
Yeah, I'm his secretary.
So our next item is the 2021 student insurance renewal.
We've worked with First Agency for years. I think we strayed away from them one year and learned the hard way that why somebody can come in with a lower insurance cost initially, they're going to spin you around the next year and take you to a much higher level. So we've really been pleased with First Agency and wish to continue that renewal coverage that provides coverage for our athletes as well as any of our students. There is a $250 deductible that families must pay, but otherwise they have both accident and catastrophic coverage, ranging from above $250 to $25,000 for an athletic accident or a student accident, and catastrophic coverage up to $1 million. Our secretaries at all the buildings, when there is an injury, complete the injury forms, mail them home to the parents, and also submit them to the insurance company. So we would recommend to continue our relationship for the next school year with First Agency.
And everybody knows this is an insurance that is above and beyond somebody else's insurance, or if you have none, then it kicks in also.
Yeah.
Any questions on the insurance? Okay, Jeff Long is making the motion to accept that, seconded by Darius. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. We're all ready to reports. Principals and directors reports.
Well, let's start with Mrs. Moline. How about you? Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Awesome.
So since our last school board meeting, we've had 8 IEP meetings with families, and we've continued to offer in-person Google Meets as well as over phone meetings to best meet the family's needs and comfort level in regards with COVID and the pandemic. In addition, since the last meeting, I was able to attend a virtual webinar for our REAP grant, which is from the U.S. Department of Education for Small Rural School Achievement Grant. And they've done some surveying and revising of that grant application, which was really exciting as it was quite complicated previously. So the revisions are pretty awesome, in my opinion, and more user-friendly. Just a reminder that REAP grant, we typically apply for that each year, and it's somewhere around that $14,000 ballpark, which really helps us as a small rural school district. During our last in-service day, I was able to teach crisis prevention, the CPI, to 25 different staff members. As a result, they all had previously completed an online portion, and then we had the classroom part here that afternoon of that Friday in service. So it's pretty exciting as our staff are coming into compliance with de-escalation and just really good ideas with how to help work with students in challenging situations. Also, Mr. Olson and I had a Prairie View collaborative semester meeting with Title I special education and each regular education teacher for an entire day, just kind of met with the teachers during their preps, and Title I and special ed stayed in for each of the meetings. We talked about different needs, areas that we've been very successful, and Stoddard has their meeting coming up this week. On our February 4th snow day, Mrs. Grani and I had a chance to visit with our CISA reading specialist that has a 317 reading license and represents and works for our school district to fulfill that requirement as one of DPI's requirements that we have a 317 licensed specialist. She is going to be going over some things with our administrative team at an after-school meeting next week, actually, as we continue to work on ELA at a district level. Last but not least, we've done a lot of grant work here in the last couple of weeks from GEARS. Again, that's the state level of funding that we've received, as well as CARES, the federal level of funding as a result of the pandemic, and then IDEA, ESSER, REAP. But I really want to thank some specific people that have helped read line items, move things around on Skyward, write and edit my writing or rewrite and edit my writing, and other guidance. So a special thanks to Lindsay, who stayed many nights after hours to assist. Diane, of course, our accountant or business manager, and Lisa Garvalia. So thank you to all them.
Thank you, Mrs. Moline, and thank you for all your work on those ESSER grants. I know as we move forward, and we'll be fortunate to get close to $600,000 of additional funding, that is going to also be very much a time commitment on our business office and the work you do and I do. So thank you for that. Appreciate your report. Mr. Boardman.
All right, good evening, everybody. So you can kind of see in our buildings and grounds report, just kind of repetitive work on our energy savings. Things that we did at the high school this last month, been kind of a crazy month. As far as the track's concerned, we've contacted several contractors. They would like to wait until they can actually see the track to give us a good bid on it. Retaining wall, we have received some bids for engineering on the retaining wall. We can review that next month at a buildings and grounds meeting. Our outdoor freezer had to get worked on at the high school as well. Everything is good now. And also between snow removal and everything, our foot pedals in our skid steer were getting pretty rusty. They're pretty much rusted all the way out. Starting to cylinder was catching a little bit. So went through and replaced those. And the last substantial snowfall that we had, we busted the shaft on the hydraulic for the sweeper for the skid steer. So Saturday went and got parts, got all that replaced and everything. And we also replaced the grease trap at the high school that was in very high need of getting replaced. Stoddard had some problems with the boilers up there. Technician was called, I think yesterday or this morning when we talked to him, one of the boards is bad in it. So they have that ordered and that will get replaced. Ongoing working on barriers, got some more done this morning. Jacob Kurchevsky has been helping us, our apprentice, which has been doing a great job. It's kind of nice having somebody around to get them little odds and ends that you're not able to get to every day on a daily basis. And also had some problems in the walk-in cooler, not this last weekend, the weekend before. Something was froze up. I can't remember exactly what it was, but everything is working now and that's all good. Prairie View has been good. Had a leak in Ev Wick's room. Kind of know where that is. They're the snow gets drifted up against one part of the building and water can't run out. So it creates an ice dam. So we have to break that out, make sure the water is flowing out of there. I'd also like to say a big thank you to Austin Faulkner and Gage Kennedy. They've been helping us out during the day. They've been doing a great job. Lauren Bannister as well is going to be helping us out. And hopefully all that goes good. And besides that, the cold weather, we've been able to keep on keeping on. Thank you. That's all I got.
Well, I think, Guy, you kind of understated the work you and Jackie have been doing. You know, when weather comes in overnight, they are out there way early in the morning to make sure that sidewalks are cleared and parking lots are opened up so we can start the school day on time, or even in the cases of the 2-hour delays, be able to start. They're out there pushing that snow. Throughout the weekend, because of the cold, they were in our buildings constantly over this past weekend to make sure that we didn't have pipes freezing and there weren't any other issues. So I just want to mention that, Guy, because that's a tremendous commitment to ensuring our facilities are well maintained and able to be functioning when we need school to start after the weekend. So thank you, Jackie, and the custodial staff for doing your normal work and then going above and beyond, especially this past weekend.
Thank you.
Okay, Betsy?
She texted, she has nothing to report tonight.
Okay. Thank you. Then we'll switch to Kelly.
Hi, good evening. Last week, Mr. Wick coordinated his annual Wind Car event. Wind, W-I-N-D. Students build a car. He takes them in the gym, and he just uses a little box fan and sees how far they can move via the wind. Thanks to Mr. Groning, Drake Cumlin, and Brock Taylor for videotaping the event and streaming it on our website. Sticking with fifth grade, at this point, Mount Lacrosse says we are not allowed to bring our fifth graders skiing. We did have all of our fifth grade students write a persuasive letter to Mount Lacrosse that they'll be receiving this week. So we're still hoping that we can make that fun yearly trip to Mount Lacrosse. I'll let you know next month how they took our letters. Battle of the Books has been practicing. How that works is our third, fourth, and fifth grade students, they go in the library over lunch with Chelsea Vandenhoevel, our librarian. They read a variety of books, and then she quizzes them and practices with them regarding comprehension. And next week, Wednesday, they're going to have their virtual Battle of the Books competition. So students really seem to enjoy that, and Chelsea does a wonderful job with that program. And lastly, Heather Stensling, our PTO president, she spearheaded a virtual talent show this year. So I think they're just finishing that up today or tomorrow. You can find that on the DeSoto website sometime this week. There's going to be 16 different acts from Prairie View students, from singing to dancing to, you can see what the rest of them are. But that's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Olson. And thank you for managing the decision-making with Charlie Groves on whether we need a late start, as well as making the decisions if the roads aren't going to be in the condition we need to for safe travel to and from school. So we appreciate your early mornings as well to get out there and check those road conditions and consult with the highwaymen throughout our district and look at the weather reports to make decisions that keep everyone safe and well. So thank you, Mr. Olson.
Thank you.
Mr. Fulsang.
Hello. How's everybody doing? So last week was kind of a short week, but it was an exciting week. We had a fancy lunch in the lunchroom, and the kids don't get to eat lunch very often at the start of lunchroom anymore. So everybody got a chance to get in there, and we set up some streamers and did some different things, and talked about etiquette in the lunchroom. So they had a lot of fun just getting a chance to eat somewhere different than their classrooms. So they enjoyed that. And then I know they had some sweets and treats on Thursday when they had their Valentine's party. Last Friday, we had a lady from Foss join us. Foss is the science kits that we got last year. We got a chance to spend a couple hours talking about how those lessons are put together and what the resources are. So I know the teachers were excited after kind of getting a chance to look at some of those FOSS kits, and hopefully this spring they can start doing some more science. We also had Jessie Sloan come. She's a CISA rep. She talked about behavior expectations and school culture. So that was nice to kind of do a little reboot as far as PBIS goes. Thanks to Karen for doing some CPI and some coping strategies. I think those are important tools that teachers need and continue to use. So we appreciated that on Friday too. Thanks to Guy for helping us out with the boilers and checking on those because it was chilly last week, one of the days when we walked in. So we appreciate that warmth. Recess has been tricky. It's been indoors for probably a week now. So the teachers are getting a little restless. So hopefully the weather continues to warm up this week and they can get outside for that recess time. Last week, actually 2 weeks ago, I started some mid-year evals, and I really enjoy going into the classrooms and getting to see all the fun things that the kids are doing and getting to give some feedback to the teachers on all the positive things they're doing for kids. So I've been working on that the last couple weeks, and I've really enjoyed it. Tomorrow is the third grade invention fair, and Stoddard and Prairie View are joining virtually. I know some Stoddard kids had some pretty cool inventions. One was a sock matching system, which I told her that I probably should use, and a couple other fun ideas. And we also have Battle of the Books going on at Stoddard as well. So I know they've been reading hard and getting to do some of those fun things as well.
Thank you, Mr. Fulsay. And one of the things I don't think he mentioned was that today they started with short 4 staff positions. And so Mr. Fulsang has been subbing for a few days now, also at Surround Care, starting at 6 a.m. and then closing it down at 6 p.m. So he's been putting in some 12-hour days. Mrs. Moline was up there subbing today as well. And he was able to get enough coverage working with staff to stay open today. So I think that I just want to share that out, that there are times when people are not able to come to work, and the substitute pool of people available to sub is very small. And so we move around staff wherever is needed and double up if we have to. And I thank both of those individuals, but I know Derek has been going 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., so I wanted to give you some special acknowledgement as well.
All right, well, let's give him a little more special acknowledgement, because after all that stuff taking up his time, he still found quite a bit of time to come down and help with Aiden Brzezinski's wrestling. It's tough to have people that are the same size, for him to wrestle with and to give him different looks. And I think Mr. Fulsang is more than a handful for him. So thanks a lot for coming down and doing that.
Yeah, I think I'm still sore from last week.
Yeah, we're never as young as we like to think we are, I think. So that's very nice of you to do that as well. Thank you. Mr. Ferget.
Hello.
Hello.
That was just a test. Okay. Let's see. This Thursday, February 18th, we're going to run our Winter Fun Day, which was previously scheduled, but due to weather, rescheduled for this Thursday. And it looks like we're going to make it. The temperature looks to be about 22 degrees for a high. So we'll have kids out ice fishing, doing some sledding. And for those who don't want to spend the day outside, they're going to go to the machine and watch a movie at the theater down there. Tomorrow, we should have our parent-teacher conference sign-up posted on our website to allow parents to sign up for Thursday, February 25th or Tuesday, March 9th for parent-teacher conferences. See, some of our math experts or math student experts are going to be participating in the Twin Conference Math Contest between March 16th and March 26th. That's between a number of area schools, everywhere from Bangor down to Wazeeka and from DeSoto over to Ithaca. So there'll be a number of small schools. So our high school math students will be participating in that. And then lastly, we're going to be starting the process of scheduling our students for the 2021-2022 school year. And that process hopefully will begin about the first week of March. And then also we've got the ACT, which is coming up on March 9th. And a number of our teachers are participating in morning homeroom activities to prep the students for the ACT. That's it.
Thank you, Mr. Ferget. Mr. Ferget also facilitates the Continuous School Improvement Team monthly meetings to address and look at what we're doing academically, use our data to make decisions, and to plan events like this Wellness Fun Day for our students. So we hope they have a good time, either ice fishing, getting some great exercise in sledding or going to the movies in Prairie du Chien. Though we may have some students who are going to stay back and continue to work on their academics as well. So we have some teachers who will be holding back for those individuals. I'd also like to add to that Mrs. Moline mentioned that outside of that last Friday's 3-hour training for CPI, basically 2.5 to 3 hours was spent by each of those individuals independently doing the online curriculum that had to lead into that. So it's about a 6-hour commitment of time for our staff, the 25 who chose to get that CPI training, and a 2-day training process for Mrs. Moline to get that certification she needs annually. I'd also like to extend the comment that Brent first shared about seeing what other school districts had done in preparation for starting the school year. You know, last March we put together a staff pandemic planning committee, and those efforts, along with the support we received from parents and the community, certainly allowed us to open. And you continually hear from Guy and Jackie how they're ensuring that we have the proper ventilation. Mrs. Moline takes on the responsibility to order all of the PPE, the face mask and the gloves and the gowns, and the goggles and the face shields that we need to continue to safely work with students who may present that they're not feeling well on a given day. And we take it all seriously. All of our teachers have been very diligent and vigilant about doing all of the necessary cleaning in between all the transitions, as well as using those microfiber cloth that have the disinfectant on it. You'll see our custodians throughout the day cleaning the high touch area surfaces and making sure that the buildings at the end of the day are ready for school the next day. So, and as Guy mentioned as well, they're continuing to add some additional plexiglass dividers. Art has been on a cart with the art teacher going to the classrooms. We now would like the students to get back into the art room as we're seeing the trends of COVID decline. And we're building those dividers in those rooms too. So we continue to be determined to ensure we have the safest and healthiest possible environment, and are very proud that we've been able to accomplish that. And that is through, as was mentioned, everyone's efforts. So again, expanding Brent's compliment to everyone in the school environment, our students and families who've supported us being in school every day, and thanking all of them for that support. And I don't know about this, so maybe you need to add.
I'm not sure, so I might still, but maybe you knew more about it than me, so.
No, I don't. Nope, I just know they're planning on doing some ice fishing, and if those who want to do sledding will be sledding at Sugar Creek, and those who want to stay indoors and stay toasty warm will be heading to the movies. So, Mr. Grunning, anything from you?
Nothing to report this time.
Thank you.
All right. Well then, is there any correspondence?
I did put a letter out for all of you, and it's a letter that will be given to Mrs. Bonenkamp and placed in her file, but it speaks to the fact that our secretaries are often the people who respond to students or staff who present with any illnesses. They have, dealt with just your normal first aid protocols, but they also deal with some emergency situations. And we had a pretty stressful week or 2 weeks with multiple issues that arose, and one that required administration of emergency epinephrine twice, and coordination with 911 and Tri-State Ambulance. And Kim's efforts in normally providing the normal health care to our students, she certainly continues demonstrates that when there is a crisis situation or an emergency situation, that she capably manages all of us, moving everyone into position who can help, from hallway monitors to Mrs. Moline and myself that tend to take a more active role with assisting anyone who is ill. We also have different staff who step up depending on their availability. Ashley Witesky has stepped in the past if she's on prep or we get someone to cover her room. And so we do a coordinated response effort. But I wanted the board to see the nature of some of these incidences that I put together in this letter, because nowadays they say, well, that's all in a day's work. But these high stress situations are deserving of recognition, and the individual being commended for how well they managed all of the aspects of the incident. And so my compliments to Kim Bonenkamp in sharing this letter with all of you.
Thank you very much. Are there any items for the March 2021 board meeting?
Were you going to mention your move?
Yeah.
You're doing that today.
Anyway, if not, then need a motion to adjourn. Make that motion. Motion by Jess, second by Kevin. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.